But anyway, to introduce our next presenter here, Ginny Lee. She is the Business Analyst Manager in QA here at Blue Mountain for the last 5 years. She has 15 years of experience in the life science industry in operation and quality roles, and we're very happy to have Ginny presenting.
Again, thank you for joining me. My name's Ginny Lee, and I'm really excited to be here for this virtual summit. But before we get started, take a moment, find your mute button and the chat. And I just really want to make sure that this is an interactive session the best that I can. So feel free to speak up, just yell at me, hey Ginny, I have a question or I want to add something. Type in the comments. Drexel and Savannah are going to be monitoring those and they'll interrupt me as well if anybody's typing something in. So I know we're not face-to-face in person in the same room, but definitely want you guys to participate. I'll be asking some questions throughout and I would love to hear from you. Next, I wanted to start off with a little story before we get into things. So my 2 daughters moved to remote education once COVID hit right around March. And this meant that a 5- and 7-year-old would need to be responsible for logging into and participating in their own Zoom meetings with very little grown-up help. Well, that apparently was pretty easy for little kids, so much that they started sending Zoom meetings to grandparents and cousins that live far away to chat with them and share parts of their days. I don't know why, but we never really did that. We just called on the phone, maybe sharing our screens on the cell phones, but nothing really interactive like a Zoom meeting. But really it got me thinking, this is something that I'm really happy COVID has driven us to figure out. And I hope that we keep this up even when things go back to normal or whatever it is. Reflecting on that has also made me think that there's a lot of other positives that have come out of the pandemic as well. So one example of this change is the summit. I'm actually really excited that this is virtual because it's really given so many more of our customers the opportunity to join us, network, and participate in the events. Maybe they weren't able to travel to State College for an entire week, but they can log into a Zoom meeting and share some time with us for a couple of days. So I'm really glad that it's really opened that up to more people. So again, another positive thing. And really, I wanted to take some time today to share some more positives that I've noticed for Blue Mountain, for you, our customers, and even for the FDA. All right, I got PowerPoint to work. This is great. So this is the change curve of Kubler-Ross, and it highlights the typical phases that one has to go through to experience or accept change. I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen this before, but it really starts with shock, moves on to denial, anger or blame, a lot of negative things going on here. Then you move into some depression, confusion. Finally, we begin to move into acceptance or problem solving, the good stuff. And that really takes a lot of time, but that's the typical way that a person goes through change. Change is hard. So in March, we all know COVID happened, which really required us to change a lot. Basically, we were forced to go through what usually takes months and experience everything in about a week. I'm not sure about you, but it kind of felt like this. So the patients that use your medicines all needed continuous service. So stopping to think and experience the normal change process wasn't really an option. And in many cases, most of you couldn't even slow down to get your feet back on the ground. Okay. So the good news is that this demanding situation has caused some really positive interactions to help us all arrive at the problem-solving portion immediately. And that's what I'm going to be discussing with you today, is how do we get here and what do we want to keep? So the silver lining, what types of things should we keep? So we know that COVID has altered life as we know it in an incredibly rapid way, but under intense circumstances, sometimes we're forced to think about life a little bit differently in a way we've never thought of before, and some good has come out of it. Who doesn't love contactless grocery shopping and the new work attire? No shoes, pretty nice. But what should we keep? So from a workplace experience, so flexible work, going digital, and smart work. Then I'm going to get into some examples of things that the FDA has changed as well that are really positives that I hope that we'll be able to keep moving out of this. So what we learned with flexible work. Location and schedule of some employees can be flexible. Many companies were forced to have a portion of their workforce work from home or change schedules and locations, and a lot of them are still there. Employees actually are happier, more productive, and stay with the company longer when work is flexible. There's actually a lot of studies that were able to identify that. So how many of you will keep a flexible work arrangement after the pandemic settles down? Love to hear about some things that are working really well for those that are working from home. So again, this is an opportunity to chime in, type in some comments, unmute yourself, shout out. What do you like about working from home, and do you think that you'll keep that schedule?
So I guess I'll chime in a little bit. To your point is exactly what our company has seen. People are happier, they're more productive. So if we're not considered essential, Novartis has kind of rolled out an initiative that this will be the path forward. You can work from home, and they're supportive of helping us financially somewhat with setting up a home office, ergonomics. So this is it for us. I may have to go on site once in a while, but I think I've been on site twice since beginning of March, and one of them was to get my third hepatitis B shot. So that I don't count that. But other than that, yeah, no, I could do my job from home, and that's where we're headed.
Awesome. Anybody else have a similar experience?
There are some that have come in via the chat. Christine says eliminate long commutes, 3 hours a day, which is unbelievable. Less interruptions, getting more done, can have a coffee at home. I do love the shoes, but I do tend to get a lot more done, and it's worked where everyone is more cognizant of the work schedules. No commute is great, spending less money. I love the fact that I get a couple of hours back to my day, more sleep.
That's fantastic. Thank you guys for sharing. So what can you do? Embrace flexibility. Maybe you have the decision power, like Chris's company, to say, you know what, this is working for us. If you want to stay from home and you're productive, let's keep that going and see what we need to do. And then maybe some employees that have to be physically present, allow to have a modified schedule. They've proven that they can get the work done. Maybe it's better for them if they're working in the evenings and they want to do their maintenance and calibration in the evenings and continue that so they can be at home with their kids or something during the day. Embrace that. If there's no reason it can't be done, maybe it can. And then lean into discomfort. New communication systems seem pretty difficult at first. But now are an essential part of work and life to be able to communicate with loved ones that maybe you can't see. We're all getting pretty good at Zoom, Teams, Google Meet. I'm trying to think what else everybody's using, but we've already broken through and figured that out. So keep that up, and it really will allow for, a flexible work experience. So the next thing that I found was really positive was going digital. So what we learned was if you leverage the rapid implementation approaches you needed at the onset of COVID to go paperless, you'll make a lot of improvements. Obviously, we know that when you've got people working 3 hours of commute time, trying to drive a piece of paper in from one person to another, just to get it all signed, that wasn't going to work. So people had to move to digital. Many of our customers indicated that they had to move to computerized systems, again, as people weren't at the same location, and they had to figure out how to do that. So what can you do? Utilize the work done by the vendor. So purchase something that the work is already done. Nobody had extra time on their hands because of COVID. We needed something that was fast and compliant. Or go SaaS. So find something that the infrastructure is already in place, so you don't have to go buy new servers or whatnot. And I'll get into those right now. So again, utilizing the work done by the vendor to move to an electronic system. In many cases, the COTS products, like ours, the documentation work is already done. So work on your end is very minimal, and you can implement it while you can still reap the benefits of it. We've seen customers open their procedures to allow them to accept, based on risk, our documentation package, as they needed to be off paper documents due to COVID-19 changes. Look for SOPs to be provided by our vendors, so you don't have to start from scratch and write them on your own. And again, with efficiency and finding a good vendor partner, projects can be completed in as little as 2 months for Blue Mountain RAM. So again, just embrace change and figure out how to get it done, but things can get done pretty rapidly. You could have bought at the beginning of COVID and been electronic by now if you keep your processes simple. So the benefits, again, move paper processes to electronic ones, reduce person-to-person contact, which we're trying to avoid to keep people safe, and then time to walk documents around. Electronic workflows can be accessed from any computer. Some people have really large plant sites and facilities, so even just getting paper, I know at some places I've worked, you had to put them in the mail to get them to the other part of plant site, or it was a 30-minute walk from one end to the other, just to take a little piece of paper over there. So saving a lot of time, regardless of the reason for switching to an electronic document. And then storage space. So again, less paper, less storage space. If you go electronic, and every piece of paper eliminated in a clean room is one less contamination risk. So it's a lot cleaner to have a tablet in there or something like that than a paper logbook, for example. So not just for COVID, but these are things, if you can figure out how to get an electronic system in to replace the paper process, you're going to have a lot more benefit from that. And again, going digital, moving to SaaS applications. So there's no need to set up and validate servers, to order that extra hardware, to purchase new software. You don't have to take backups or find space to store them. And you can also relieve the in-office burden of your IT personnel. You know, you're trying to keep them at home and keep them safe as well. Hosted solutions like ours and Microsoft Azure, they're in and they're working to maintain the physical equipment. So that's something that you don't have to do. And allow your company to grow more rapidly by utilizing a SaaS application. So maybe you're participating in a solution for COVID and you're ramping up and you need to make, you know, three facilities to produce vaccines rapidly. You're gonna get a lot more equipment in and you're gonna grow your infrastructure a lot. So again, leveraging a SaaS application will allow that growth to happen without having to go through all the extra IT work in-house. Smarter work. So this is something, again, we should all be thinking of, but sometimes you just don't stop to try to do this until you're forced to. So we learned that when forced to change, great solutions, often outside the box, can make a remarkable impact. So create programs to rapidly adapt to change, reduce unnecessary work, and leverage skills of existing employees. So what can you do? Adopt the temporary change management procedures as permanent. So I know a lot of you guys probably had ways that, hey, we need to make this change because there's nobody coming in tomorrow, or we have to go from 1 shift to 3 shifts to segregate our people. And you made changes to your change management procedures so that you could do these things rapidly. You can't take 2 months to get a change request put through to change your processes. So make those permanent. Why not? And consider that there's a better way to do something and engage your workforce. So again, change management. Were change management procedures streamlined? Did your production schedule get rapidly altered? Did you have to change them, like I said, for changing your workforce? And computerized system validation. So again, going digital, did you change your approach just like the one recommended by the FDA, which is more computer system verification than a computer system validation? What did you do to change this? Did anybody change their change management procedures because of COVID to make things quicker? Again, raise hands, type in comments.
This is Pete Murray from SPL.
Hi.
We of course we just went live not too long ago, so the transition from paper to paperless has been it's been difficult. Even without COVID, I've been trying a bottoms up approach to it, trying to, at least for us, in metrology, not having to hand off paper and walk it over to someone else and make a copy stamp and all. It's been nothing but positive feedback. I can generate a PDF of the certificate, zap it over to them, and they're to them in validation they were, oh great, I can just attach this to my protocol. I don't have to wet ink sign anything and walk it over and put all the files back and et cetera, et cetera. So on our little neck of the woods in metrology and validation, it's been great. To date, we try to follow that. So we're trying to adopt that with, say, on-site audits. And those are now, of course, it's to be determined yet if those are going to be implemented as normal. But some of our other paper applications are still there. So we still have to have people come in and march things around. The meetings might be virtual, but there's still everyone still has to cycle through and walk this batch of paperwork for a change control around and what have you. So we're still a hybrid, and it's not easy to let go for some.
So they're still kind of at the bottom of that change curve that I showed at the beginning. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, I think I stepped out. I sort of missed that. I didn't finish that whole slide. I'm sorry. I walked out on it, but yeah, we're still kind of in that grudgingly. What do we have to do to get this electronic or digital?
Well, hopefully that gets fixed soon. Does anybody have a more positive experience of maybe making a rapid transition to an electronic system, even if it's not RAM? No. If you think of something, type it in the comments.
We have a comment here from Patty who says we're processing our paperwork signatures via PDFs.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a similar experience where we're now accepting emails as signatures for a lot of documents. And we've just finished this is Christine from Canadian Blood Services, a couple of audits from Health Canada, our regulator, and these were all virtual audits, which involved a lot of changes for us. So little videos of different areas and producing lots of records over the internet for them to review.
Interesting. And were they pretty comfortable with the approach that you took for email approvals?
Yes. So we ended up proceduralizing, obviously the different rules, if you will, around how to provide these approvals. But yep, so far so good.
That's awesome. And I think that's a really innovative way to handle a tough situation. So thanks for your feedback on that.
Yep.
So then one of the other ways, oh, go ahead.
No, just a few other comments here. A couple of people saying that using Adobe Sign, DocuSign Part 11, move to DocuSign.
Okay, and for those people that did that, how long did it take you to validate or verify to move towards that? Was it something that was pretty quick? Are they typing back, Drexel?
And feel free, if it's easier, you're welcome to unmute yourself.
Yeah, feel free, yeah.
Another comment here says yes, pretty quick.
Excellent.
I'm kind of interested. Maybe I can pass that on to our validation folks. I think we're still trying to find a way to find some kind of validation platform, validated e-signature. We are using some Adobe Sign for some of our processes, mostly purchasing.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's coming off of our QMS, it's unfortunately still everything's wet ink.
Yeah, and again, maybe in the chat, if you've got somebody at your company, has implemented the Part 11 compliant, signatures with, Adobe or whatnot, whatever system it is, maybe you could provide that information so that, people can kind of get connected after this. Awesome.
Another comment here, Ginny says, for us, this is from Brenda, no, we had to adopt information into the SOPs.
Okay. So reworking your procedures to kind of allow for the different ways that you're going to be working now. That's great. Too fast. Okay, so smarter work. So one of the ways that we can move on, you guys have had some really great ideas for smarter work. One of the things is to reduce unnecessary work so that you can focus on what is necessary to get your medicines to the patients. Leverage lean. So by that I mean identifying items that fall into the 7 waste categories: transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overprocessing, overproduction, and defects. Are there any things that you have in your system that you do that you don't need to do, and can you just get rid of them? Have you guys scrapped anything that you guys were doing just because it was unnecessary? Maybe projects that were not fluff projects, but just extra work projects so that you can focus on what was really critical to meeting your patient's needs? Does anybody have examples of that?
Jumping back just to the last topic while we allow people to type and answer that question. Paul says Adobe Sign and our document system allow us for a 1-page wet signature, execute a document for a document as well, scan in an e-sign and document system, and this was used right away due to COVID. Preferred is actual scanning with wet signatures.
That's good to have those options, especially when, maybe not everybody has the highest quality scanner or whatnot around at their houses too. So another part of working smarter, again, is leveraging the skills of existing employees. So I know Drexel sent out a survey a while ago, and many customers had indicated to us that they had changed in their responsibility. And this really allows a company to find out what people's untapped potential is. Maybe nobody's ever asked you to be creative and think of solutions to something. And now you have the opportunity to let your employees shine and contribute meaningfully in a different way. So I don't know if anybody's had any, wants to talk about different roles or responsibilities that you guys have done to kind of help things in your company move forward. Maybe it's something like you were outsourcing calibrations before, but now you couldn't send your stuff out due to COVID, and you stepped up to take on the challenge yourselves and calibrate everything in-house. Does anybody have examples like that?
Yeah, actually we did. So we were hesitant in bringing in the vendors to do calibrations, and we had to create some work plan templates, get some procedures approved, get the MDTs in place, and since we already had the tools in-house, we end up being able to perform these in-house instead of bringing in the vendors. So having the tool in place to allow us to do this work, perform this work in-house was actually very helpful.
That's great. That's a great example. Thank you.
Yeah, we had one contractor comes out quite often. He used to wet ink certificates, put them in a FedEx envelope, mail them to us X days later. And one day he said, "We're not doing that any longer. Our company policy is that we are now going to we're going to scan everything or PDF it over to you." And I said, that's exactly the road we're going down. So yes, we'll definitely meet your needs. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. Anybody else change what they're doing, either themselves or just different roles of different people at their company? All right, and I will move on. So now we've talked about our workplaces, but the FDA has changed a lot as well. And we have a little click to add text here. Oh, whenever I touch the screen, it jumps forward. So this is a little graphic of the typical time it takes to get a vaccine from discovery, research, all the way to market. And 10 years is the minimum. I think it goes up to 18 if you add the longer ends of the time. And really it starts with, up to 100 potential vaccines for one disease. And then you wind up with $500 million later, and 10 to 18 years later, you get one vaccine. That's probably not acceptable for COVID. It's a little bit too long to be able to provide something. So the FDA wanted to do their part and help to eliminate some of the red tape and make it a lot more efficient to get from number 1 to number 4 as quickly as possible. So I just wanted to kind of highlight some recent examples of actual timelines from drug discovery and development through vaccines. The graphic I showed before was kind of generous, but HPV, 23 years, hepatitis A vaccine, 24 years, and the rotavirus vaccine, 26 years. Now there were starts and stops along the way due to changes in priority or whatnot, but that's a really long time to get there. So the remarkable thing is the COVID-19 vaccine could be developed and approved in less than 1 year. And even if it's 2 years, that's a vast difference from 23 to 26 years. So they must be doing something different, and we're going to talk about that. So changes to the drug approval process. The FDA has created a special emergency program for possible coronavirus therapies, and they call it Coronavirus Treatment Acceleration Program, or CTAP. And the program uses every available method to move new treatments to patients as quickly as possible, while at the same time finding out whether they are helpful or harmful. The FDA continues to support clinical trials that are testing new treatments for COVID to gain valuable knowledge about their safety and effectiveness. So really the FDA is putting a huge effort into streamlining processes, working with the pharmaceutical companies to say, this is what we're going to need, please provide this, and they're reviewing it as the data is coming in. They're not waiting for a nice package to be put together. They're really, with this program, working with the pharmaceutical companies to get things out as quickly as possible, as safely as possible. Just some statistics from the CTAP. There's been over 590 drugs in the drug development program that are in the planning stages, over 310 trials that are being reviewed by the FDA. There's 5 COVID-19 treatments currently authorized for emergency use. So maybe they were approved for other diseases, but they're approved for emergency use for COVID now. But right now, there's no treatments currently approved by the FDA for use in COVID-19. So that is the difference between emergency use and full approval. But the FDA is really flexible to try to make sure that they're granting as efficiently as possible. So they've been putting out a lot of guidance documents. I'm not sure if you've looked at their website, but there are regular guidance documents coming out to just really aid the pharmaceutical industry into saying, this is what you need to do. Here's where we stand on this. Even though they're non-binding recommendations, they really are helpful in guiding the work that people are doing. So this one, manufacturing, supply chain, and drug and biological product inspections during COVID-19 public health emergency, questions and answers, guidance for industry. It's a mouthful of a title, but this was approved in August 2020. And it talks about the inspection process that halted in March, where they stopped sending their auditors on inspections. They resumed in July 20th of 2020 on a priority-based schedule, and they were saying that they would be pre-announcing their facility inspections and audits because, again, they didn't want to surprise people and then have that extra COVID transmission risk by showing up unannounced. Pre-approval inspections, so it talked about that. The FDA intends to continue using other tools and approaches where possible, including requesting existing inspection reports from other trusted foreign regulatory partners through mutual recognition. So maybe it's something that the FDA hasn't gone to inspect a facility, but maybe the European agencies have, or Health Canada. So they're saying, you know, they're trying to leverage whatever they can to ensure the medicine is safe and to move as quickly as possible with their day-to-day jobs. So something else has happened is a lot of the APIs and raw materials have come from foreign countries, and there were import bans preventing us in the United States, or maybe whatever country you come from being able to import these APIs, which are needed for critical medicines, to continue manufacturing. So basically that document also describes that companies really should evaluate their supply chains because this is something A, that could happen again, or B, might not be solved anytime soon, specifically for APIs. The document also talks about if the drug is to support the treatment or prevention of COVID-19, or it is on the drug shortage list, it will receive priority review. So maybe there's companies that have to start making the API here within the country because we can't get it anywhere. So if those APIs are needed because the drug, again, is on the shortage list, or is a potential to be used to support the treatment or prevention of COVID, those facilities would receive a priority in getting licensed. And again, this is all about risk. So the FDA just stresses using risk-based reduction strategies and flexible assessment practices. So they're really putting their time and effort into what's the most important and has the highest risk. Again, if they have for-cause audits that they need to do, they're going to go ahead and do those because those are top priority. If it's just a routine inspection they go to that's just seen, you know, maybe an inspection from a different agency, they may decide to skip that one and leverage the documentation done by somebody else. So once again, these are some of the positive changes that allow for more rapid advancements in approved drug therapies moving forward. So if it's okay now to operate like this and move very quickly and rapidly, why not in the future? Why not keep the smart automations, the remote work, the supply chain adjustments. Why not keep the regulatory flexibility for faster drug approvals, and all the other things that we talked about? So hopefully, this is something that, you know, you guys have sounds like made a lot of positive changes in your companies. So why not keep those moving forward? Does anybody else have any positives that they plan to keep, whether personal or at work?
We can certainly leave a few seconds here for people to respond to that. But just, you know, just to say thank you very much, Ginny, for presenting. We appreciate it very much. And we can certainly hang out here for questions. Well, ultimately, and I don't know, do you have anything else to cover, Ginny?
I don't.
Okay. Ultimately, we're going to take a quick break, and then the rest of our live sessions today will be focused on R4, leading up to a few after-hours Q&A sessions, which I'll provide more detail for after our break here. Just because of our time schedule, I'm going to let's take just about a 15-minute break and resume here at 12:50, and we'll kick off with our first R4 kind of overview demo. So if you're welcome to stick around here on the screen if you want to, you know, chat, or if you have questions for Ginny or whatever the case is. If you're going to take a break, we recommend just certainly turning your camera off and muting yourself and rejoining us here at 12:50.